Thanks for staying with us. A South African woman is calling on government to secure her release after she was detained in Israel. Leigh-Ann Naidoo was part of a group of pro-Palestinian female activists traveling to Gaza. Her wife, Kelly Gillespie, joins me in studio this morning. Kelly, thank you so much for making time to come into studio. I imagine it's a difficult time for you right now. Tell us about what exactly has happened in the last 24 hours.
It is a difficult time, and thank you so much for having me here. It's been a difficult few days. Leigh-Ann was selected as part of a broad campaign to find the right South African to be on this boat, this women's boat to Gaza. So it's been a process that's been about 6 months in coming, and we've known for a few months that she would be on the boat. We haven't been able to release her name because she had to arrive in Italy and get on the boat before we could release who she was. And so we've also been preparing for a while because we had a sense that this might happen, even though we were really hoping that the boat would be able to land in Gaza. You know, the Israelis have been having a blockade of Gaza for a number of years. They are occupying Palestine, and Gaza is particularly affected by this. So the mission of the boat was really to try and break the blockade and bring a message of peace and international solidarity to the women of Gaza in particular, but also to the people of Palestine more generally. And what is so devastating and makes me feel emotional now just to think about it was that there were hundreds, if not thousands of people waiting on the shores of Palestine to meet the boat. There were women, there were artists, there were children, there were people with food who were so grateful for this act of solidarity coming to their shores, from women from 13 different countries around the world bringing a message of peace and solidarity. And not even 40 nautical miles from Gaza, when Gaza was within reach, within not even half a day of reach, and people were gathered on the shores, 2 Israeli boats came and intercepted the boat illegally in international waters. And so we know that the 13 women have been captured by Israeli soldiers. We know that they were taken to a port in Israel. We haven't heard any further information. We know that they haven't been able to speak to their lawyers yet. So I'm feeling really scared right now because, as we know, the Israeli army is capable of a great number of human rights abuses, and I'm not sure what's happening with her right now.
Are you concerned about their safety?
We got a report that they weren't harmed when they were taken off the boat. And this for us was the most significant thing because 5 years ago, as we know, the flotilla to Gaza was met with a great deal of violence by the Israeli Defense Force, and multiple people were killed on board. So the women over the past 2 weeks have been going through intensive non-violence training in order to prepare them, and they were in collective solidarity around what they needed to do if and when the soldiers breached the boat and came to intercept and arrest them. So we know that they went in peace. We know that they had a message of peace for the soldiers. We know that they had non-violence techniques to use if and when they were arrested. So I'm just extremely grateful that because of those techniques and because of the work that they've been doing and the very clear message of peace and international solidarity, that they weren't hurt when they were being intercepted. But we don't know what's been happening to them.
How long have they been held now?
They were arrested last night sometime. At about 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, the first communication interception happened and we lost contact with the boat, and then it came back on again. But we assumed that this might be a strategy preceding interception, and then about an hour later we lost contact with the boat. And then we got one image of the boat being intercepted by two vessels from the Israeli Navy, and that's all we have. We haven't heard anything more.
And I imagine that for now, top of mind for you is to try and secure their release. Is Leigh-Ann the only South African on board that boat?
She is. It's a group of 13 women from all over the world, and Leigh-Ann was selected as the only South African.
How then would you like the South African government to get involved here?
Well, I'm actually quite horrified because I haven't heard a word from them, and none of any of the organizers heard a word from them all day or last night. And South Africa has historically been a friend to Palestine and understood the plight of the Palestinian people, and yet there hasn't been anything that's come out of our government with regard to this illegal capture of the boat. And so I would call, and I have at the same time gotten huge amounts of support from friends, from organizations, from the student movement of which Leigh-Ann is a part, and I'm surprised and a little startled that there has been no response. I had to call the Department of International Affairs and Cooperation Cooperation this morning to try and get any kind of word on them, and I got frankly, quite a lazy response.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, is the Department of International Relations the only ones that you've tried to reach out to?
They are the ones that are supposed to be responsible for South African citizens in this kind of situation. But I would hope that both the presidency and the ANC would be willing to both support Leigh-Ann's safe return home, but also to issue a very clear sense of support for the people of Gaza that were not allowed to receive a peaceful mission of women traveling to offer solidarity, that Israel maintained an illegal blockade and captured the boat in international waters before it was allowed to arrive.
What can ordinary South Africans who are sitting at home and watching this interview, how can they, get involved in this?
Well, I would hope that people would be willing to write to government, and I hope that there will be the possibility of an email going up on your website for the Minister of International Affairs and Cooperation. I think if they can send emails there, that would be wonderful. There's also a petition on the amandla.mobi site that people can sign, but also just to raise awareness among friends, colleagues, family members of what's going on and start to create some sort of controversy about this.
On some level, earlier on in the interview, you mentioned the fact that you were prepared for the worst in this scenario. Now that this interception of the boat has happened, what is your plan going into the next couple of days? I mean, what are top of mind in terms of your concerns?
Well, obviously, in our family, myself and our 7-year-old daughter, we really want Leigh-Ann to be safe and we want her to return home. And so we're hoping that the legal team responsible, both in Israel and in South Africa, will be able to negotiate for her safe release and for her direct passage home. That's really the only thing that we want right now. And we also hope that the mission of these brave women on the boat will be able to find some resonance in people's hearts, because what they came with, what they went to Palestine with, to Gaza with, was a message of peace and love and care in an incredibly difficult situation. Mm-hmm. Even yesterday, there were bombs from Israel that went off in Gaza.
What has been the response of those? You spoke about activists and several women in Gaza that had gathered waiting to receive the boat. What has been the reaction of locals there to this?
We've been so busy trying to get Leigh-Ann home that we haven't spent much time speaking with women in Gaza. But I know that we've seen a number of videos and statements and letters that have been written by the people of Gaza over the last weeks as the boat has been slowly making its way to Gaza from Italy. Just saying how important it is for them to know that in this condition that they're living, which is basically equivalent to a kind of open-air camp, completely surrounded and controlled by Israel, that there are people willing to risk their lives to show solidarity and to try and breach the blockade, the illegal blockade that's been set up in Gaza.
All right, well, we certainly hope that Leigh-Ann makes a safe return back home. That was Kelly Gillespie. She's the wife of Leigh-Ann Naidoo, who's currently detained in Israel.